Okay, it looks like everyone's in. So hello, everyone. My name is Darren, and I'm one of the marketing coordinators with BCIT's School of Health Sciences. And it is my great pleasure to welcome you all to the Health Sciences Information Session for the Clinical Genetics Technology Program. First thing I want to mention is that how happy we are to see you all, and thank you for attending our presentation today. I would like you all to feel free to post any questions or comments you have into the chat during the presentation, and we will address as many of those questions as we can near the end of the presentation in the Q&A segment. And third, if you could please keep your microphone muted and your video turned off until the end of the presentation, so to reduce connectivity issues and interruptions during the recording, that would be greatly appreciated. Thank you. And I'm just going to move this along. Just before we get started, I want to mention that the British Columbia Institute of Technology acknowledges that our campuses are located on the unceded traditional territories of the Coast Salish nations of Squamish, Tsleil-Waututh, and Musqueam. So our agenda for today is the welcome and introductions. We'll do a couple of quick poll questions, and then we'll do the presentation and program overview, and then Q&A at the very end. Okay, just before I introduce Mandy Harris, the program head, I'm going to put up some polls. Okay, and now we have a clinical genetics specific poll question. How many clinical genetics technology programs are there in Canada? 1, 2, 3, or 4? So lots of people picked 2, and just to confirm, I'll hand it over to Mandy Harris, who can tell you which answer was correct, and then we can proceed with the presentation.
Great, thank you, Darren.
Thanks,
good afternoon or early evening. I am Mandy Harris, the program head for Clinical Genetics Technology. And yes, we are one of 2 programs in Canada that train clinical genetics technologists. The only other program is in Toronto, in Michener. So we receive a lot of applications throughout or from the many different provinces here in Canada to come to our program. So perhaps some of you are from other provinces outside of BC. Welcome here. We can go to I guess I should say a little bit about myself. So I actually am a program grad. I did this program back in 2001, 2002, after getting my degree from the University of Victoria. I worked in the Lower Mainland for a number of years at Royal Columbian Hospital as a clinical genetics technologist, and started teaching into BCIT's program here in 2015, and then became the program head in 2020. So what exactly is clinical genetics technology? Well, clinical genetics technology is a very specialized area of medical laboratory science. It is a completely separate program from MedLab. We learn very specific testing modalities for all things clinical genetics. So people who are looking to have children, who are maybe having some miscarriages, we investigate that, looking at different things like placentas and blood testing of parents. We do testing a lot of cancer type of testing, so leukemias and lymphomas, to help sort out what's going on with the patient, and then post-treatment, just to see how they're responding to treatments and things like that. Other areas of clinical genetics technology include autism, developmental delay, any sort of syndrome that has an inheritance genetically. That's what you come to BCIT to learn, is all the different testing methods, whether it be classical cytogenetics, which I teach, all types of molecular genetics, PCR, DNA extraction. We have classes in FISH, so fluorescent in situ hybridization, microarray, and we're really excited to launch our first module in next generation sequencing technology this February. So we also will be teaching some of that. So when you're asking yourself whether clinical genetics is a good fit for you, some things to be thinking are you a detail-oriented person? Do you like to hunt for what could be wrong, or puzzles, or solving things like that? Are you really detail-oriented? Do you have good judgment, and do you like making judgment calls about things? Are you someone who enjoys working independently and part of a team? When you work as a clinical genetics technologist, a lot of your work is independently at the bench, but you are always working collaboratively with your peers and with the medical geneticist, especially when you get an abnormality, to figure out how you're going to write that up or investigate it further. So there is a combination of types of work in the lab. And if you're really interested in honing your troubleshooting and problem solving skills, this could be a really good fit for you. And we do require a Bachelor of Science degree with a life science focus before you apply to the program. That really helps you get a solid background, have solid foundation to build on, because when you come into this program, we assume that you have that knowledge so that we can very quickly get you up to speed in all the skills of testing that I just mentioned for all kinds of different diseases. So we really need you to have that good foundation behind you. Next slide. So how long is the program? Well, our program, you come in, like I say, having a degree in molecular biology. We do like to see a concentration of genetics courses in your undergrad. Then you would come here for 13.5 months. So the first 25 weeks of the program are spent here at BCIT, so from September until mid-March. And then March until October, our students go out to different clinical sites throughout BC. We have a number of sites in BC, but we also have clinical placements in Alberta, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, and Ontario. So if you are looking to apply to our program, please be aware that one of your rotations may be out of province. And this is a full-time program. So when you're here at BCIT, it's Monday to Friday, sort of 9 to 5, and all the hours of working afterwards to get all of the competencies really understood. So it's 25 weeks here at BCIT and then 30 weeks out in clinical. You'll have 12 weeks of that at molecular genetics training, and then 18 weeks in cytogenetics training. And when you're here at BCIT, there's a combination of lectures and labs. So you get the theory and the hands-on experience. We really try and get you as much hands-on experience as we can to simulate the real clinical experience that you will be moving on to. You do get a 7-month clinical experience, which is just a really great way to get a flavor for what the job is and get exposed to all of these areas: cytogenetics, FISH, and molecular. So career outlook. So what does it look like once you complete the program here? You go on to write your Canadian Society of Medical Laboratory Science National Certification Exam. So they have certification exams for general MLTs. They have an exam specific for clinical genetics technologists, which is specific to us. And I think they have a MLA, medical lab assistant, as well. But you will be writing the clinical genetics exam in October. Once you pass that exam, you are certified to work as a clinical genetics technologist in Canada, and you can work in major hospitals, private clinics, less so research labs, but we do have some in research, and more private clinics and labs are coming on with next generation sequencing and things like that. Salaries, they typically start at about $64,000 a year, increasing yearly to about 80, or probably more like 85. Now you get 4 weeks vacation when you start, benefits, pension, all of those good things. And there's lots of jobs right now because of retirements and things like that. So it's a great time to enter the field of clinical genetics. Next slide. So this is one of our previous grads, our alumni here, Phil. And this is his testimonial about the program, and I'll just read it out for you. So Phil says, BCIT's clinical genetics program prepared me for a fulfilling career in the field of molecular and cytogenetics that is ever evolving in clinical care. The transition from student to technologist feels seamless as in-lab testing and decision-making is replicated in the classroom, while practicum offers the added benefit of networking with future colleagues. What makes this program stand out from the majority of others is the unity you feel with your cohort, as class sizes are usually smaller than 10 students. Having said that, they're about 8 to 10 students. I highly recommend students who have an interest in integrating analytical skills with patient care pursue a career in this field, as the role genetics plays continues to grow in the field of personalized therapeutics. So a really great comprehensive view of what it's like to come through the program and be a student in our program.
Thank you,
All
Mandy.
right.
That was a lot of great information and that went by pretty quick. But now it is time to turn to the admissions information. And if people have more program-specific questions, Mandy will be around after in the Q&A to help. But right
Thank you,
now,
Darren.
yeah, my pleasure. So right now we'll just go over the entrance requirements fairly quickly. There's English requirements. You can certainly, don't click the screen because it changes the slide. There's English requirements that you can check out on the program requirements page on the website. If I could just gonna put this in the chat in case no one has been to the website, even though I'm sure you all have been there. So that will give you all the information and requirements, but there's post-secondary, a Bachelor of Science with 3rd and 4th year course concentrations in subjects such as cell and molecular biology. 3 letters of reference you'll need. You'll need to also complete the Casper test assessment online, and you can complete an acknowledgement of program requirements and mandatory applicant questionnaire. The start dates for the program starts in September, and the application processing period is from October 1st until April 3rd. And qualities to be successful in the program or the profession is, of course, strong communication skills, which I don't have apparently, speaking skills, listening, reading, and writing, an interest in analytical work, a strong attention to detail, strong decision and problem-making skills, and teamwork / people skills. So hopefully you like to work with other people. The application process follows these steps. First is the review the entrance requirements and application processing dates. You can find those on the program webpage. Upgrade if necessary. Then you'll want to collect your documents, transcripts, and additional documents if required, and convert them to PDF files. And then you go to bcit.ca/apply, and you can apply online. And what you can expect after you apply is the admissions department will view all of the applications. The CLGT faculty will review the applications and select the top candidates. Admissions will then send out non-accept letters. Program head calls accepted applicants for verbal acceptance. Okay, now I understand.
Yes, because I give a very special phone call to those that gain entry. I'll be phoning you personally to congratulate you and welcome you into the program.
That personal touch is very nice. Thank you for that, Andy. And then admissions will send out acceptance letters. So now moving from the academics, I would like to let you know BCIT is committed to supporting students in a holistic sense. We want you to succeed not only in your academics, but also outside of school. Some student services are available to you as a prospective student, and others will be available to you once you become an enrolled student. So here are some other important student supports that I'd like to mention. If you are Indigenous, BCIT's Indigenous Initiatives Department is there for you to ensure a smooth transition into your first year. They offer peer-to-peer mentorship, a welcoming gathering place, and provide clarification on Indigenous funding. BCIT's awards, scholarships, and bursaries are listed on our financial aid and awards webpage. And I'd like to mention that we have a President's Entrance Award, and selection is based on academic achievement, but also volunteer and community service. And please contact financial aid directly for more information. And BCIT is also committed to providing assistance to students with permanent or temporary disabilities. If you have been accepted to a program and believe you need accommodation to be successful, I encourage you to connect with our Accessibility Services Department. BCIT Student Health Services is a health clinic located on the Burnaby campus. They provide medical care for current BCIT students all year round. We also have a counseling and student development department available to help you enhance your education performance and maximize your success as a student at BCIT. And lastly, our recreation services promotes, encourages, and enables the practice of physical well-being. We consider recreation an integral part of campus life and welcome all students to enjoy their services. And if you have any questions after today, I encourage you to connect with program advising. They are available by telephone, email, and Zoom appointments. Please go to the webpage at bcit.ca/advising for our up-to-date contact information and service hours. I would like to also mention, if your inquiry is time sensitive, please call us for assistance. Telephone would be best for a quick answer. And just for your information, and you will be receiving a copy of this presentation and the video, so you don't need to write any of this down, but we'd encourage you to connect with us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, or LinkedIn. And there's some also handy links on the other under Learn More for more information about BCIT. And that very quickly brings us to the questions and answers. And I see that Maggie has been answering questions in the chat. Thank you very much for that. And
that's great. If there's anything that you weren't able to answer or any other questions that you want to direct my way, I'm happy to answer them.
So yes, it's a great opportunity to have Mandy, the program head, and Maggie from Program Advising here to answer your questions.
I think, Mandy, if I may, somebody named Amanda asked at the beginning, hi, is it possible to have all clinical placements completed in Ontario? And I was going to wait for you to answer that, if you don't mind, Mandy.
Absolutely. So no, I would say no. And our clinical placements are not chosen by our students. They're randomly selected. So while we do have one cytogenetics 18-week placement at Children's Hospital of Eastern Ontario, we randomly select who goes where. So there really isn't much choice around placements, but what I will say is about half of our students do need to go to out-of-province placements. And when I phone with that offer, I will let you know where that is, and then you can accept based on knowing that. Typically, most people are very happy to get an offer and accept wherever they go. And they are all fantastic clinical sites, great training, and it's a really good perspective to go to these different labs and see what they do. And you never know, you might want to go work there.
I don't believe this has been answered from Bernice. Just to confirm, since I do not have my completed transcripts for my program yet, graduating in May 2023, I would submit my transcripts that include up to what I have after the semester. And if requested, considered, then submit the rest of the complete transcript.
Yes, that is absolutely fantastic. If you can send us what you have as part of your application, and you can start your application now and then just keep adding to it until its due date, sort of April 1 or April 3rd, I think is the hard date to have all of your documents in. If you are graduating in May after that, we understand that there are a number of people in that position, and we of course will follow up on those transcripts. If you are given an offer, it'll be contingent on getting that in and making sure that you have passed all of those requirements, and then everything is finalized after that point.
Great. Thank you, Mandy. We could just give a couple more minutes since we're a little ahead of schedule. If we can answer some more questions.
Actually, I
If
think I
any.
see one, Darren, from Caroline or Carolyn. I currently live in Ontario, but I'm relocating to Vancouver in April. Should I mention this in my application?
Yes, please do. We do give priority to BC residents. So if you could please make that clear on your application, that will help us determine whether you're a BC resident or outside of the province resident. If you're coming to us from outside the province, you typically need to show that you are stronger than BC applicants for acceptance. We have had that happen. And just to give you an idea, we typically accept 1 to 3 of the 10 seats from out of province each year.
And a good eye, Maggie. Sorry, I skipped by that one. But I think you got the rest.
Yes, if you're living in BC and you have a BC address, you're considered a BC resident.
Okay, and we just got one here. Is there a minimum period of residence to be considered a BC resident? Oh, there we go.
Thank you, Maggie. You would know more than I would.
Sorry. It's okay.
So efficient. Thank you. And like I said, if there are questions after today, you can contact program advising or admissions. And you will have certainly all this information and delivered to you next week sometime. The videos will be up on YouTube and we'll send out a version of the presentation to everyone, even if you didn't show up, which is also good. And sorry, I'm just stalling. Here we go. Is there a preference before academic or work-related reference letters? Thanks.
Thank you. Great question. So for your reference letters, of which we require 3, and we do ask that they be sent directly to admissions and they will be attached to your file. So just let the person who is your reference know that if they could put your application number on there when they email your reference. I would advise that you have an array of references. You know, it's nice to have academic and work reference, and that's really specific to you. If you have really strong work references, then maybe you want them all from your work reference, but typically one academic and a couple work is great. If you don't have that, then few academic is perfectly fine too. We look at your entire application. So we're looking at everything. We're looking at how well-rounded you are, what kind of work experience have you had. Obviously, the more relevant to the field is have you done some volunteering in the hospital? I know sometimes that's difficult with the pandemic too, but sort of any volunteering around that vein. Do you have any work experience in lab or biotech or health? All of those type of things will help you. And also the questionnaire. So there's a questionnaire that you need to fill in. So really conveying your understanding of the field. What is a clinical genetics technologist? So I would advise you to do a little bit of homework on that, just so you have a really good understanding of what field it is that you are getting trained in and that you will be working in. Was that another question that popped up, Darren, or is that?
No, I was just letting everyone know that
Okay.
a copy of the presentation and the link to the video will be sent out. Do re-applicants stand a better chance of getting accepted into the program?
Also a good question. Yeah, I would say that we do like to see that you're really committed to getting in the program, and we have had some strong years where we're getting so many good applicants that if you were turned away, it's not because we wouldn't love to have you in the program. It just is a limited seat number. So I would say yes, you increase your chances if you apply again and you're a strong candidate. I think that gets a little hard when you're coming from out of province, because again, every time you apply, it's based on the strength of the pool that's applying. So that does come into play a little bit.
Is there a preference for when the reference letter should be submitted, as long as it's in before the admission deadline?
Yes, yeah, we do need to have those in by April the 3rd. So hopefully there's plenty of time between now and then for those letters to come in. And like I say, they can come in, any time between now and April the 3rd, and they would just email admissions directly, reference your name and your application number, and that will be attached.
Excellent. Thank you. Here's a good after grad question. Thank you. Another question. What kind of hours does a technician work upon graduating? Is it more like a 9 to 5 or shifts?
Yeah, it's definitely, from my experience in the field, I've never seen shift work in clinical genetics. It typically is sort of a 9 to 5 or a 6 to 2 or a 8 to 4. It's really, as long as you're getting those 7.5 hours in the day, and usually the lab, they don't want everybody working a 6 to 2. So they'll allow certain people to do that and other people to have a later shift. But typically people sort of get what works for them and their life, and the lab works that out.
Okay, we're just past half an hour, which is the presentation, but if there's any more questions, we could certainly, oh, here we go. Nice. What would be the general number of applicants do you get every year? Just want to know the ballpark figure.
Yeah, we do get about 40 to 50 applicants every year, and we take in 10. So it's kind of a 1 to 4, 1 for every 4 applicants that we're admitting. So, and it really depends on the strength of the pool that applies year to year. So I would say put your best foot forward, put your application in. We give really good feedback. If we don't accept you, we'll let you know exactly why and perhaps where you can improve on your application.
Okay, great. Would you say there are many opportunities for growth in the field after graduation?
Yes, not perhaps directly related to clinical genetics technology, because clinical genetics technologists are level 3 medical laboratory technologists. It is a high level specialized lab technologist. So, most people are really happy in the field as clinical genetics technologists and work their whole life. There's different areas of testing. You can go from one section of the lab. Perhaps you worked in cytogenetics for a long time. You want to go work in medical or molecular genetics, sorry. So people do move around that way. And then, of course, if you're keen on getting into management or supervisory roles, you can work your way into something like that subsequently. So I hope that answers your question.
Yes, thank you. I like this one. What did the strongest applicants have in common?
The strongest applicants all had, sort of a B to A average. They have strong references, have a little bit of lab experience, whether that be a directed study in their undergrad or actually got to work in life labs or something like that, doing some COVID testing, any sort of lab work. They did well on their Casper assessment. So you need to do a Casper assessment as part of this, which is more of your soft skills. So it's really looking at those, how do you integrate with people? How do you communicate? Those types of things. Don't let that dissuade you. We do keep in mind a lot of lab techs, you're an introvert, and there was a lot of introverted lab technologists out there. We definitely keep that all in mind, but we really want to get an idea of you holistically as a person, and if you've conveyed your interest in being in healthcare and that you have a good understanding of what it means to be a clinical genetics technologist day to day, we really like to see that.
Excellent, thank you. Here's one more. I am thinking of paying for a lab management workshop online. In your opinion, would this be worth it in this field?
That's a good question. I would say not for this particular program. You don't need lab management. We're not teaching you how to go into lab management. We're teaching you all the specific technologies for testing the genetic code for all different types of diseases. Now, if you did that for a number of years and then wanted to get into supervising, then I might suggest doing some sort of certificate like that. But as far as helping your application for this program, I would say no, that won't help with this particular program.
So I think
Good.
with that,
Hi, all these questions. It's fantastic.
yeah,
Great.
it was good. I think they're slowing down now. And unless one pops up here, I'm just gonna thank everyone for being with us today, and wishing you all the best in your future in health sciences or whatever you decide. And yeah, thank you. Like I said, look forward to an email next week with a copy of the slide deck and a link to the video. And I'll cut out all my yammering out of the video so it'll be nice and smooth. Oh, here's one going up the screen. Would a candidate with a GPA or less than 3, but has lab experience and pharmacy experience have a chance?
I would say yes and still apply. You might get that feedback if you happen to be in a pool of applicants that had that plus were really strong academically. If you're really committed to getting in, you might want to take a course and get that A plus in a genetics and upper level university genetics course would be my advice. But still apply. You never know who you're competing against.
And with that, I think we'll cut that off. And thank you once again for being with us, and look forward to hopefully seeing you in the future.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.
Okay, good night.
Good night.